Hi everyone, this is Smackarock, the Gold Adventures with Raven and Smackarock. Today we're going to install the Yamaha factory stereo system in the Wolverine RMAX 2. And we'll show you, we got all our stereo equipment here. Came in one box. We got the head unit here, and it has some screws to tighten to mount that into the dash. We got our brain, which is also a 200 watt amp. We have all our different wirings, harnesses here, and then we have our two speakers that mount into the door. And it comes with the instructions, zip ties, and a bunch of new push buttons for the door panels, because you're going to destroy those when you pull them out. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to take off the hood. I'm sure you all know how to do that by now, but you just do your two latches here, and then you pull the hood up out of these rubber mounts, and the hood comes right off. Second thing that you're going to have to do is pull this rear dash firewall panel off. And it has 9 screws in it. It's got these screws up here on top, and it's got some more on the bottom down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, there's 9. There will also be some breather tubes, probably from the transmission, that come through the little firewall plastic. They just loop around and go back in. Well, you just grab a hold of those and pull those out straight, and then you pull your panel off. And this is the panel right here, and to get it off of there, these tubes stuck through the holes right here, and then they looped around like that, so that you just grab those and pull those loose. When I pulled the panel off, I had to pull the bottom up and get it past the coolant tank here before these clips would release right here. So pull the bottom up first to get it past the coolant tank, and then this thing will come off like that. That's all open now. That's what you need. The next thing you'll have to do is get your center console panel off. You want to be careful not to damage this. The first thing you'll have to do is take your Magellan GPS unit out of there. And then this thing right here, you want to start on the bottom and pull the pins out on each side. You'll have 1, 2, 3 clip pins that hold it in. And after you get those pulled out, it'll just come off. It's got these little tabs here that go into these holes right here on the side. But see it, the little clips here, they're just pull and push type clips. Now I had my horn installed, so I had to disconnect the wires from the horn. And the next thing that they tell you that you have to do is you have to remove the console, but I think the only reason that you have to remove the console is to get your auxiliary jack in here. But I can reach my hand in there and fill that hole, so I'm thinking that I don't need to remove the console. I can just reach in there and tighten that nut up without removing the console, which is a big plus, because the console is really a big job to get off of there. You got to take the seats out.
Okay, show me where you put your arm.
I'm putting my hand through here, my arm, and I can reach down there and tighten that nut on that auxiliary jack that goes into this slot down here where my finger's at. And of course your head unit goes right here, and the wires go through the hole right there, and all the wires run out into the engine bay, and it's just plug and play. Now the next thing we're going to do is take the door panels off. I already have that one off. I'm going to show you how to take this one off.
Okay.
To get the door panel off, you have to take these screws out of there. And you'll have 1, 2, 3 screws, 4, there's 4 bolts. And the next thing you got to do is get these push pins out. Now they're all recessed in there, so they're kind of hard to get to. So what I have done is I got started by this one right here first. I just reach my hands in there and pop that one out. And then you can reach your hands in there and you can get the rest along the bottom of the door just by pulling on them. Don't worry about destroying them because you get new ones with your stereo. There's one over here that we're going to get. And then there's this one right here. And then that one right there. After you get those out, you have to get this down past here, like that. And then to get it loose like that. And I'm guessing that they really want you to take the door off to do this because it doesn't slide past the handle. But this is the trick that I did to get mine off, is I just put my body in there and it's off. So the next thing you have to do is pop this out, and it's really easy. You just come back here and push on the tabs and it pops out. Then you're ready for your speakers.
Excellent.
Okay, the first thing they tell you to do is to install your door speakers, and this is going to be one of your mounting points, this upper bolt here. It's a 10 millimeter. We're going to take that one out. You take your speaker and use make sure your writing is the right side up. And it goes right in there like that. You're going to want to make sure that your wire and harness is through here first. Get that bolt started, and then they give you these other 2 bolts which have Loctite on them already. I'm going to take this bolt back. They're Torx head button type screws. This is a number 30, the T30 Torx head.
Wrong.
And you take your wire, it's got a hole right there for your wiring harness to go through. And you stick that in there. Got put some spit on it and work it around as you're putting it in there, and that'll push it in. Then you come around here to the fender well. And we have your plug-in for your speakers right here. After you get that plugged in right there, you want to go ahead and do the same thing for the other door. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is install the stereo brain. And it goes right here, like that. I had to cut this wire tight because it had the wires holding up here like that. Need them down in there like that. And then you have to put these clips on here.
And they just slide on?
They just slide on, yes. Get them lined up as best you can.
There's 4 of those.
And if they're not perfectly lined up, you can take a little Phillips screwdriver or a punch. We'll use a punch and kind of center them. That, and then you have bolts and washers. And then you just make sure your wires are out of the way so you're not pinching anything. All this is going to get plugged into a harness. And it's 8mm socket. We'll tighten them down. And just get them good and snug. You don't need to crank them down like you're using gorilla strength or anything. It's just plastic, be careful. And there, your brain's installed.
Ready?
Okay, the next thing we're going to do is install the control unit. And it goes right here. And it's got one cable that runs through here, through your hole. And you have to get it up through here and feed it through a slot in your dash. I did it on this side because there was more room and I could get my hand in there to push it on through. So I already got that run. There it is. Looks like they give you plenty of cable to work with. And that just goes on there like that. And you put your screws in. Easy peasy so far. And they give you screws to install this with. Tiny screws. Careful not to slip off the screws and scratch your unit there.
Beautiful.
Looks good. Be careful not to over torque. Remember, you're screwing in the plastic. Okay, we're installing the auxiliary jack. Before our card got loaded up, we had to go take some stuff off of it. But basically, this is your auxiliary jack, and you got to take the nut off there first.
Okay, we got.
And then the wire gets fed through there. You can reach in through there and pull it out through here to get so you can get your nut on there. And just pull that up. Get it right side up. Get your nut started over here. And they say you just need to do it finger tight. It should be good. It feels pretty solid. And it looks like you can get it tight enough without having to take the console out. Feels pretty solid.
Beautiful.
And that'll save you a lot of heartache. And that's your auxiliary. And then they have an add-on for a USB, but this rig already came with a USB, so we don't need to do that add-on.
Nice.
It's also got a USB jack out there, and then you got to take this and get it run through to the firewall. Like so. And then all we got to do is start plugging it in the wire harness. First thing we're going to start with is the speaker wire harness. It's got a provision for rear speakers. We don't have that. We just have the front speakers. And here's the front speaker plug-in. I'm just going to plug that in. Short side goes to the driver, and the long side goes to the passenger. There's a hole in there. You just take it and feed it down through there. You plug in your speaker under here. Okay, get up here. That was a speaker wire for the driver's side. It's a harness coming down through there. I'm gonna run it over here like all the other wires are running. And we just plug it in. Now we're going to do the same thing for the passenger side. We're going to run the wire harness under here nice and neat. Get underneath everything. And then there's another hole over here where you can run the wires through. Run it through with the other speaker wire or other wire harness that comes through here.
And basically do the same thing you did on the other side.
And basically do the same thing we did on the other side.
Awesome.
Next thing we're going to do is plug in the antenna wire, and basically that just plugs into this jack here. And then they tell you to just take it in here and run it along the inside of the dash. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some wire ties on this stuff to tidy everything up here in a little bit. And that takes care of that. Next thing we're going to do is the power wire. And that looks like you can just use this plug right here. It's got a blue label on it. It doesn't say power or anything, but it plugs right in there, so I'm seeing that this is the power. And it comes on, plugs into your fused wire. So, and that's the power wire. And I don't like the way I have that run, so I'm going to unplug it and run it differently.
The battery's going to die again.
There's a slot here for all your wires to come through, and I'm trying to get everything lined up to come in and out of that slot so that you don't have any pinching going on. So once you get your speaker wires run and your antenna wire run, you just plug and play all of your plugs in here. My auxiliary plug doesn't reach, I'll have to rerun it around to this side. Everything's labeled, so it's just plug and play.
Okay, so after you do all those steps, basically just put this panel back on, right? Or
Just put everything back together the way you took it apart. And there's a few things I have to do yet before I tidy up my wiring harness here. I'm going to zip tie everything nice and neat. I got to run my auxiliary over here so that it will reach, because it won't reach coming through that way. And just put your panel back on same way you took it off in reverse. Put your door panels back on the same way you took them off in reverse. And then your center console, and you're done.
well, thank you for that.
And we have,
Pass the savings directly to you.
we don't have
Playing
any,
music.
we don't have very good reception inside the shop here, but everything seems to be working. And you got all your modes. It comes with a manual and tells you how to use everything. And you can set loudness, EQ, adjust your bass and treble, and you got FM, AM, Bluetooth, and auxiliary. And yeah, it looks nice, looks good.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
And I like it. Smack out.